And good evening, YouTube. Tim and Mike here with a special Friday night review of Suicide Squad. Unfortunately, Uncle... Oh, shoot, what is it again? Uncle Drewy. Yeah, Uncle Drewy was supposed to be on the show with us tonight, but he couldn't make it. Uncle Drewy, our thoughts are with you. And James, just being James. Nobody else really wanted to join us, so screw them all. Tim and I are going to talk about this movie. So, as per our usual format, we usually start out with a brief review of the film, and then we'll get into some spoiler territory in a few minutes. So, if you don't want spoilers, I do not recommend that you watch this show past the first few minutes. But let's talk about some Suicide Squad. Now, first, before you go, Tim, I want to make sure that his, Uncle Drewy's voice is heard from beyond wherever he is in Canada. Uncle Drewy did tell me that he didn't hate the movie, but he didn't think it was very good, and he gave it a 3.5. That is the extent of his review at this point. He's going to do a written review on fatoverlords.com. Tim.
Yes.
So give me the rundown.
Okay, well, I don't feel that it's the complete train wreck that Batman versus Superman was, but it's not great either. It's got a lot of flaws. For everything it does right, it gets twice as many wrong. I would give it 4.5.
4.5. Really?
Yeah.
4.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have to say that first of all, I love the original concept here, where you take a hero who, the criminals basically, and you inject them with something that'll kill them, and then throw them into the battered remains of what used to be a city to rescue a high operating member of the government. And so I absolutely loved Escape from New York.
Yeah.
However, this movie I have to admit I liked. I wouldn't go as far as love, but I did actually like this movie a lot more than I thought I would. I was ready to absolutely hate this movie. You know that.
Yeah.
And I think and we'll get into it in a little bit here, but I think when we talk about the spoilers, I think part of the reason I liked it more than you is because I'm not as familiar with some of the characters as you are. In all honesty, that's probably a big part of it. I will say that they got elements that I was just like, oh, you are so close to being awesome. And, but nothing where I said it truly was awesome, just things that were so close to being awesome.
Yeah, it misses the mark so frustratingly close.
Yes.
To being, it could have been an amazing movie.
Right. Other things I think were just stupid, like the plot itself. But overall, I'm going to give it a 6.5 actually, because
really?
I did actually enjoy it. I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Ghostbusters. I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Star Trek. I enjoyed it on par, I would say, with Batman v Superman, which I liked. I know you hated. It doesn't even come close though to Deadpool or Civil War. I think those two. Those two movies are the big standouts this year for me so far. However, I did really like the film. Now, since Suicide Squad is essentially it's a character piece with a whole lot of characters. Right?
It's Dirty Dozen with superpowers.
Right. And so I thought, I know usually we try to talk about the film in chronological order, but I figured that let's do this a little differently, since there's so many characters in Suicide Squad and each character is very important. So we'll talk about the characters individually. And so starting off, and this is just because this is the order they happen to be in my videos, you can see him on the screen. Let's talk about Killer Croc. Now, well, tell me, what did you think of Killer Croc?
Well, first off, the makeup was fantastic.
Oh yeah, I was really surprised. I didn't think I would like it, but yeah.
Yeah, and they did. There's a lot of real extreme close-ups of him, and having a friend who does effects makeup,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of know where to look for, like, where the joint is,
Right?
with, and everything, and I gotta say it's one of the best makeup jobs I've ever seen.
Yes, the makeup on him was phenomenal.
Yeah, he's really not given a lot to do, other than growl.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has 2 lines of dialogue in the whole movie.
Although both of them were showstoppers.
They were amusing.
I mean, well, at least to the crowd. I was in a sold out theater. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was.
And with whenever Killer Croc opened up his mouth, people loved it. And I wanted to see more of him. I want to know just how tough is this guy? Because I mean, I've read him in Batman a few times. I know that he's a badass because he can absolutely devastate Batman himself.
He's very powerful. Yeah,
Yes.
very strong.
He's not Hulk level strength, but he's probably more like Captain America level strength. And
But yeah, I think the thing with this movie for me is the characters that I really liked, I didn't feel got enough exposure, and then the ones I didn't care for seemed to get way too much.
Right. Well, and I think Killer Croc was one of those characters that I really, really appreciated what they did with him.
Yeah.
My biggest pet peeve about Killer Croc is he was only, he really didn't have a lot to do other than be the muscle of the group. And he also, and this is going to be an ongoing theme with me as far as one of the things where I think one of those things that was close to awesomeness but wasn't. One of the things that was awesome about the Avengers, and you have to compare this film to the Avengers because this is the first DC team movie,
right?
But the thing that was awesome about the Avengers was seeing these characters that we've gotten to know together for the first time. Here we have a bunch of characters we don't know getting together,
right.
And what would have made, for example, I would love to see this Killer Croc having already fought Batman and then be in this movie.
Yeah.
I wanted to see, and we'll get into the plot in a little bit, but like when they do all the opening stuff where they talk about how, basically most of them were brought in by Batman.
Yeah, they're almost all Batman villains except for Captain Boomerang as a Flash villain. And
so, but that would have been a good bunch of movies to lead up to this.
Right. But as we know, DC has to rush everything.
Right. And so unfortunately Killer Croc got the short end of the stick. And by the way, I know this is silly, but one thing I really liked was when he went underwater with the scuba diving team and got on all fours, started crawling into the water, and when he swam like a crocodile. And it looked really cool.
It did, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about everybody's favorite character, Slipknot. Yeah!
Yeah, that 36 seconds of screen time was worth it. Oh, man.
Now, here's a character that has dead meat written all over him. First of all, even in the marketing, Slipknot gets next to nothing. Second of all, he's the only character aside from Katana that doesn't get a flashback in the opening sequence of the film where everybody gets their origin story told. Finally, the first time you see him is basically when he gets off the helicopter in the danger zone and they're like, oh, look, it's Slipknot.
Yeah.
And so guess what, folks? He gets off the helicopter and promptly dies.
Yeah, he immediately tries to escape and gets his head blown off.
Yes. Which...
That's so ridiculous. He didn't even there's like literally no time with it. I think he maybe gets one line of dialogue.
Yeah. And the thing about Slipknot is not being a DC, you tell me, what is Slipknot's thing? What can he do?
I have no idea. I honestly don't know. I have never heard of this guy before.
I wonder if they didn't invent him for the film, did they?
No, I'm looking him up right now. Oh wow, he looks very different. Wow. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, he was a Firestorm villain.
Oh. Well, you see, that could have been they could have had a flashback with another DC character. They could have thrown in a Firestorm cameo. That would have been cool.
Basically, his whole thing is he's good with knots.
Well, that makes for
and rope.
A dangerous villain.
Yes.
So Slipknot, the Knot Master, gets off the helicopter and then says, "Screw this noise," and shoots a grappling hook up at the side of the building to swing away, and then they blow up his head. And now I will say this is that, as you know, sad and pathetic as Slipknot's character was, there had to be a character like this in the movie. You had to have the obligatory person that doesn't play well and basically proves that they will actually kill these people if they don't follow the rules.
Right.
And they did that in the animated version, Assault on Arkham. I think it was Bane that they killed.
Really?
Yeah, it was either Bane or Killer Croc, actually. One of those. It was one of the bruisers. Yeah. And they basically says, "I don't want anything to do with this." Okay. And then he dies, and that was it. It's like, oh, okay.
Dope.
So Slipknot, though, wow, that was... the fact that he's in the marketing at all,
it's hilarious.
Well, yeah, the thing is, and this is the thing, is with Slipknot, I know we're spending way too... We've talked about Slipknot not more than he is in the film.
Yeah.
But the thing about Slipknot is that, okay, there's only a couple of ways to do it. A, don't show him in the marketing at all and then just have him step out and die. Or B, put him in the marketing whole hog so that people will think he's the main character. Like if they had done that with Deadshot or something, that would have shocked everybody.
Oh, yeah. But the thing is, like you said, you knew it was coming because they introduce each villain with a little brief vignette.
Right.
That introduces the character's background or whatever, and they didn't have one for him at all.
Right.
And then he shows up, "Hey, everybody, it's Slipknot." Ah, boom. Well, bye.
He was the red shirt of the group.
Exactly, yeah. He was the away team, advanced team that was sent down.
Right. And by the way, the funny thing is, it's like in this little marketing vignette that I was just playing, that's every scene he's in.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you're really missing is the head blowing up and the one line of dialogue that he has. So
yeah, he has one line of dialogue talking to Captain Boomerang.
Speaking of which, look who's next on our list.
As he swaggers towards the camera.
Captain Boomerang. Now, first of all, now is Captain Boomerang, and I know you're a huge Flash fan, so you probably know a lot about Captain Boomerang. Now, I know he looks nothing like Captain Boomerang. But now, does he act at all like Captain Boomerang?
No.
Is
that whole thing with the pink?
Yeah, unicorn? What's up with the unicorn? Is that?
That's not. I mean, okay.
It was funny, but it was like, huh?
Well, now I haven't read new comics in about 5 years, or whenever that New 52 disaster started.
Right.
So I know they've changed characters around. Maybe he looks like that now. I don't know, but. Digger Harkness is actually a really lame Flash villain, and the other Flash villains in the Rogues Gallery make fun of him a lot.
So Captain Boomerang is the laughingstock of Flash.
Yeah, Captain Cold and Heat Wave and Weather Wizard and Dr. Alchemy, they all make fun of him relentlessly because he's a guy who throws razor tip boomerangs. I mean, it's goofy.
And, okay, here's major spoilerage if you care. Of course, Captain Boomerang does have a flashback, and it does feature a cameo of Flash.
Yes. Someone asked me, "Oh, I hear Flash is in it." I was like, "Yeah, enjoy the 6 seconds that he's on screen."
Yeah, I was really...
Literally 6 seconds.
I was so pissed off because I heard a rumor that, Flash is in the film. And I was like, oh, cool. Maybe we'll get to see... And it's like, yeah, she's like, oh, yeah, he was apprehended by the Flash. You see the Flash run into the screen and Captain Boomerang unconscious, and that's it.
Yeah, and he makes some comment like, "Nice try, Boomerang."
Right.
Or something like that. And I clocked it. It was like 6 seconds. You're like, that's it? What?
Right.
Oh, he's not in it? Oh.
I mean, at least the Batman cameos were fun, but the Flash cameo was such a waste. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a complete waste of possibility there. I really think, first of all, if they wanted to do it right, they should have taken at least one villain from each Justice League member, so that we can have a flashback with involving the whole Justice League. That would be cool.
I agree. I mean, like they, in since they've done their best to try and make Aquaman look cool, they should have used his archenemy Black Manta, who is a Suicide Squad member in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great villain.
And by the way, and here's a problem: Amanda Waller, who I don't. Well, we'll get to her, so I'll save that for later. But who could possibly top Captain Boomerang? Well, let's see what's next after the Great Captain. Who is just he's kind of a
more joke. Of his stats.
Yeah. Okay, Katana,
yeah.
Yeah, she was in the movie.
Yeah.
That's about all I can say about her. Most underdeveloped character in the movie, even including Slipknot.
It's funny, like we were talking before we went on the air, I was like, wait a minute, she's not a villain though.
Right.
She was a member of Batman and the Outsiders, and she's barely in the movie. They introduce her out of nowhere. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, here's Katana. She has my back.
And she, I was kind of and maybe they did it just to kind of do a red herring, because I was kind of expecting Katana to die as well, because she did not have a flashback. But she doesn't. But it doesn't really matter, because she does not matter. Nothing about her matters.
Again, it's another character that has almost no dialogue.
Right, and most of her dialogue's in Japanese.
Yeah.
And basically just her being pissed off because her husband is dead and, killed by her own sword. And is that in the comics?
Yes.
Okay.
And the thing is with her though is barely any dialogue, so we don't, and they just kind of go, oh yeah, by the way, it's a throwaway line. He's like, yeah, her sword collects all the souls of anybody that gets killed,
that
and she talks
was so
sword a lot.
Badly delivered that when he said that, I thought he was being sarcastic.
Yeah, no.
And it wasn't until later when she was staring into the sword and talking to her husband that I realized that he meant that literally. And it's like, what? Wait a minute. She has a magic sword, and you're just like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
She freaking has a magic sword. That's a big deal. That sword could kill Superman. But
again, it's just, I think that she's an interesting idea that just went wasted.
Right.
They did nothing, and I wonder with this movie. I'm like, did they have too many characters? But I don't know if it's that, or if they decided, well, we're just gonna, because Will Smith is a big star, we're gonna invest all our time in Will Smith,
right?
And Margot Robbie, because she's hot in her little outfit. But the other characters all get short shrift, other than her, really.
Yeah.
And Will Smith.
Yeah, Katana. Yeah, she was just there. She was in the movie. All right, let's talk about Flag. G.I.
Yeah,
Joe.
we don't find out a lot about him either.
Right. Other than the fact that, and this is he's supposed to be a real badass, right? He's basically, as far as a non-super, he's about as badass as anyone except for Deadshot.
He's supposed to be like the Nick Fury.
Right.
Character.
Yeah, he's a natural leader. He's a strategery guy. Although we don't really see him do anything. He basically, his strategery is he knows what to do with his soldiers, but he has no clue what to do with the squad members.
Yeah,
he is completely clueless, and which I think is too bad. Now he also has this love thing going with the Enchantress, which makes no freaking sense. Is that from the comics, by the way? Did Flag and then
that I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think I think that was kind of a made up thing
Right.
for.
I think that was pointless, and it's like if he's really such a badass soldier, I'm sorry, but he would have just shot his girlfriend when he had the chance, and just taken her out. He would not have. Yeah, he would have regretted it later, but I don't think that he would even hesitate. But the whole thing where he's like, no, we can't kill her. My girlfriend's in that body. It's like, no. I'm sorry. But a true soldier would not do that.
I like the actor. I
liked
think
he did a decent job.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the show The Killing.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked him on that show, actually. And that's one of the reasons when I heard that he was going to be Rick Flag, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I like him. But again, underdeveloped. They didn't really, they just kind of throw him in there. Oh, yeah, he's our badass army guy that's going to lead the group.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend is possessed by an evil spirit. There you go. That's all you need to know.
And that's pretty much all you learn about him.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see who's next on my little vignette. His girlfriend, Enchantress.
Enchantress, yes.
Sort of, yeah. So yeah, she is apparently one of the most powerful metas, in the DCU.
Mm-hmm.
Although, because she, although what her powers are kind of ill-defined.
In the movie, yeah, they are.
She apparently
she's
can
a sorceress. I mean,
she can teleport, which is cool, and she can possess people by kissing them and turning them into blobs of shit.
Yeah, they look like prunes with like acne.
Right. But that's really all we see her do, that and build this machine that's supposed to destroy the world.
Mystical machine thing, yeah.
But other than that, we don't really have any kind of clear definition as to what her abilities are, what she is. And this is, again, one of the weaker points of the film is lack of development here. She, I'm sorry, but... what's his face? The dark elf from Thor 2 was better developed as a villain than her. Malekith, that's what his name was.
Malekith, yeah. Okay, first off, she has two looks in the film. She has this one that we're showing, and then she has the fully formed one when she's like the goddess.
Oh, yeah.
Near the end. I think that her look here is cool. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they showed her, she had like a dark mist swirling around her, and she looked very creepy and mysterious.
Well, from an effects standpoint, I think that goes to the visual style of this film. Overall, I think the visual style of the film was really good. Yeah. And I think she looked great in both modes, but I do think she looked better in this zombie queen type mode. Yeah, and
again, this is where, I don't like having to do the DC Marvel comparisons, but the fact is, Marvel spent all this time of building up with solo films before they went to a team film, and so by the time you got there, you had fully developed characters working together. Mm-hmm. So the big problem with this movie is all these characters are gathered together, and we really don't know or care about them.
Right.
In because
fact, the only character we've really seen before is Batman, and he is a cameo in this film. So
yeah, and she's, again, her origin. If you listen to what her origin is, it's kind of interesting, but they just kind of throw it out there really fast. And okay, now feel bad for June Moon. Well, I don't know June Moon, so other than seeing her, cry and beg not to be turned into that again, we don't really get any feel for her as a character at all.
Right. And it makes no sense. And in fact, this is a clear example as far as writing problems where you just tell people, it's like, okay, you're literally going to have the main character, Amanda Waller, tell the audience, by the way, she's super powerful. However, we can control her because whoever owns her heart can control her, and she can control Flag because Flag's in love with her. So therefore, through her, we can control Flag.
Right.
And all that is just said just like that.
Yeah. And it conveys basically that, oh, yeah, we set up and made it so that Flag would fall in love with June Moon.
Mm-hmm.
So we could basically also we could control both him and the Enchantress, which is like, huh?
Yeah.
How do you, what if he didn't fall in love with her? What would you do then?
Yeah. It made that.
That was really dumb.
Yeah. So
it's convoluted.
By the way, here's her fully goddess mode.
Right, that's that part right there. But it's probably one of the weakest villain motivations.
Yeah, she was pissed.
She was just mad because like, oh well, they don't worship us anymore like they used to. So I guess now we'll just destroy everything.
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, I was flabbergasted by just how weak the motivation for the villain here is. I mean, I thought it was bad in Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
It's like, well, people picked on me, so I'm going to raise the dead and destroy the world.
Well, let's go from one of the weakest characters to what I think was the strongest character in the film, and that is El Diablo. I don't know anything about El Diablo from the comics. I loved him in this movie. Mm. And so since I've never read him, you can tell me have you ever read anything with him?
I have, but the thing is the stuff that I have with El Diablo is the original El Diablo from the early 70s, mm-hmm. which was a Western character. He debuted in All-Star Western, which became Weird Western Tales with. So
did that El Diablo have fire powers or anything, or?
Well, no, not so much. I mean, he was basically a character in the Old West. He worked with Jonah Hex. He was possessed by the devil.
Okay.
He had some satanic powers or something.
Which kind of, and I don't know what the modern El Diablo is like, but he did say that he received the devil's gift.
The devil's gift, yeah. I don't remember El Diablo using flame though. I mean, but again, this is a modern version of the character. It's not the same one. That they've had several. I think 3 different versions of El Diablo.
So assuming this is a new character for you, what were your thoughts on him? I liked him. I thought he was probably one of the more interesting people in this film.
I thought he was one of the positive things in the film, because you see that he doesn't want to use his abilities at all. He's
for good reason too. I mean, his motivation for that is dead on.
Yeah, he's scared of hurting people and doesn't want to do it anymore. And again, it makes me wish that they had done this as with a solo movie, because
do you know who he would have fought? I mean, because they never said how he was brought in, or no, he turned himself in. They said,
yeah, he turned himself in. It's frustrating because his origin that they briefly touch on is heartbreaking, mm-hmm. and if they had done it in an actual storyline, it probably would have had a lot more emotional weight. Mm-hmm. And I think that he's great. The actor does a great job. Is it Jay Hernandez, I believe, or Jay Rodriguez? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that he's one of the better aspects of the film. Yeah, definitely.
And so, yeah, I was looking at I was looking up El Diablo in the comics. And by the way, one of the images I have here of the modern El Diablo from 2011 to present looks very much like this character.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty accurate then.
Yeah. The tattoos and everything is dead on there. I'm trying to see. El Diablo is a name used by several heroes in the DC universe, the original blah, 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 blah. Okay, the third Diablo is Chanto Santana, an ex-criminal with the ability to control fire. Santana becomes more prominent in the New 52 reboot, where he's a member of Suicide Squad. So I guess his whole thing was Suicide Squad as far as the modern version. Mm. But yeah, I think that I fell in love with his character. I felt his heartbreak. I mourned with him over what happened to him, and his ending was appropriately noble. I think for his character. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing him in Suicide Squad 2.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think that there's a real possibility we could.
You think there's a way he could have survived that because of whatever that weird demonic thing he became was?
Right. I think that he was probably protected by that force.
I would like to see. Well, I mean, of course, it's comic book movie, so you can do anything you want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not like it couldn't happen.
Right. But man, how awesome would it have been to have El Diablo square off with one of the new Justice Leaguers before this film?
Oh yeah.
So this. I said it was going to be a reoccurring theme. One of my biggest disappointments was we haven't seen these characters before, and some of them were interesting.
Yeah.
And El Diablo was certainly an interesting character. And if he is a one-off, if he is done after this film because of in the film, he is apparently, at least at the end of the film, dead. That would be really sad because he was so freaking cool. Speaking of freaking cool, let's talk about the baddest ass of badasses that I've seen on film in a very long time. Amanda Waller stole the show, in my opinion. I was not expecting her to be good, but damn.
Sorry, now are you familiar with Amanda Waller?
Yes, and I know physically she is nothing like Amanda Waller.
No, Amanda Waller is about 100 pounds heavier.
Oh, I'd say
although recently I've seen they've made her sexy now.
Oh, jeez.
Now she's hot, but before, for the long, like 25 years, she was, like 300 pounds or something.
Yeah. And I'll say this Amanda Waller, and I know this sounds horrible for me to say this, especially since I know my daughter's going to probably be watching this show, but this Amanda Waller is very much like how I felt like that was my mother-in-law on a very bad day. Because when my mother-in-law gets pissed, oh my gosh. So this Amanda Waller looks at you the wrong way and you just die. This Amanda Waller, when she says, I will kill you, she will kill you. Whether she has to pull the trigger herself or tell someone else to do it, she will kill you. She is not afraid of anybody for any reason, and she has good reason not to. So I really actually, I hated her. I absolutely loathed her, but that's a good thing given her character.
Yeah, I think, again, she's one of the ones in the film that I thought did a great job because she is Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller is a bitch.
Yes.
And she does not give a shit about anybody but herself and her career. And, like there's the one scene where she gets rescued when she's in that safe house where she's monitoring stuff on all the screens. Oh, yeah, hold on a second. And she just boom, 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 just shoots everybody in the head.
Right. Because, they didn't have clearance.
Yeah, they didn't have clearance, so I had to shoot everybody. And Flag's like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what she would do. Right. She's a horrible person. And she's
actually the real villain here.
Oh, yeah. Viola Davis does a great job. And I hope we see more of her.
Oh, me too.
In movies fact, in the future.
I would kind of like to see something to the effect of a spoiler alert. Granted, I know we've already talked about a lot of spoilers. I would love to see Bruce Wayne make good on his threat at the end of the film.
Oh, yeah.
And have the Justice League and the Suicide Squad going at it because they're trying to bring Amanda Waller to justice.
Yeah.
That would be freaking awesome.
Oh, I think it could be great. Yeah, I really think that this was the one character in the film where DC took a chance and said, we're going to, other than the fact that she's not 300 pounds, we're going to bring this character to the screen exactly the way she is. She is not a likable character.
Right.
Because in the past you could see like, oh, let's make her funny, or maybe she's like, got a heart of gold, or something like that. No, she is not a good person at all.
Yeah, she is. Underneath that grizzled evil exterior is Satan himself.
An even more grizzled interior.
So yeah, she is insane. She was, in my opinion, a low point, but in that being a high point of the film, because every time she was on screen, she absolutely commanded the screen. And the funny thing is like the only time it felt like she was talking to anyone who might pose any kind of threat to her is when she was talking to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
You know.
Everybody else, like even the ones with superpowers, were scared shitless of her, and with good reason.
Yeah. So next up on the agenda is everybody's favorite, the guy who grew up in South Philadelphia,
the Fresh Prince. Yeah.
Okay, can we move on?
Okay, I have something I want to say about this.
Okay.
Since the first time we heard about the casting, and then we saw the first
I know
preview,
you've been pissed because he's black.
No, that's not why. No, Will Smith is horribly miscast.
Yes.
He is not Deadshot. He is Will Smith doing Deadshot cosplay. He has all of the usual Will Smith quips that you expect him to have, you know, like an Independence Day or Wild Wild West or Bad Boys or whatever. You know, he's got and you know, and he's funny. He's a funny guy, and he's good with those kind of lines and stuff like that. But that's not Deadshot. Deadshot is a cold-blooded assassin who has killed over 1,000 people. He kills people for money. He does not have a heart of gold or any of that kind of shit.
Now,
it's ridiculous.
Does he have a daughter that he actually cares about?
I believe he does.
Okay.
But let me just say this. When you watch this movie and you watch Will Smith and you're like, oh, haha, Will Smith, you know, the lovable Will Smith and stuff, and he starts talking about, you know, how he's killed so many people. It's like, do you buy it? I don't.
No, that's the thing. It's like he's always from beginning to end of this film, Deadshot comes across as a genuinely honorable and for the most part good person who just happens to be on the wrong side of the law. That's the impression you get of this character. But that, like you said, that's not supposed to be Deadshot.
No.
Deadshot is a cold-hearted killer. The only ray of light in his life is the fact that he has a daughter that he cares about. However, he's still a cold-blooded, evil person. And, you know, they softened him way too much. And he also suffers from, and I'm sorry, Will Smith, you have too damn big a head for your own good, but that's true of a lot of Hollywood types. One of the biggest problems I have with Deadshot in this film is also one of the biggest reasons why I absolutely adore and love Karl Urban. And I'm referring to Dredd, and I think you know where I'm going with this, is that I am so sick of masked characters constantly having to take off their mask.
Right.
Every time Deadshot puts on his mask, he takes it off within 30 seconds of screen time.
I think he only wears it for maybe like 2 minutes in the movie.
Right. But I mean, he puts it on and then he just immediately takes it off. I mean, like even in when we first see him, he's like doing the assassination. He's getting ready to shoot somebody. He puts the mask on and then, oh, I got to make a phone call. So he takes his mask off to dial the phone, you know? And it's like, are you telling me that mask, you can't talk through it? You know?
Yeah.
You know, he gets into a combat zone later in the climax of the film, puts his mask on like, oh, yeah, it's getting real now. And so he puts his mask on and then starts shooting and then turns around where Flag is, takes his mask off so he could talk to Flag in the middle of a fight.
Yeah.
You know, his character, you know, if you're going to just, I mean, and if the mask, and I don't know Deadshot that well. I mean, I've seen him a few times. Does the mask serve any purpose other than to conceal his identity?
Well, he's got that
right, but the eye thing he can wear without it, as we see in this picture.
Right, but I mean that's what in the comics he always has that on.
Right.
I mean it's always he never has the mask off.
Right. And so to me, if the mask is to conceal who he is, which seems like that would make sense given that he is, you know, an outlaw. Given the circumstances here, he wouldn't wear it at all because they know who he is. You know, it's not like his secret identity is going to matter. So,
well, with that theory, it's like, oh, I guess Katana shouldn't wear her mask either.
Right.
And,
why was Katana wearing a mask? Why?
Yeah.
You know, they never explained it, but she never took hers off.
No, she did when she was crying.
Oh,
over her husband.
But the thing is that okay, Will Smith, I'm sorry, you're not that freaking important. You know, your Deadshot is more important than Will Smith as Deadshot.
You know who should, in my opinion, I think should have been Deadshot, was, oh my God, what's the actor's name? The bad guy from Avatar.
Oh, the guy that was the army dude?
Or with the white hair.
Oh, yeah.
I always forget his name. I feel stupid.
Yeah,
but,
I know what you're talking about, but now I'm drawing a blank as well. Although, isn't he a little old?
I don't think so. I think he could be just fun, because they've been talking about him playing Cable in in Deadpool 2.
Right.
And I think that
well, then let's let him be in a Marvel movie, so it'll be an awesome movie as opposed to what could just be a good movie.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, when I thought Deadshot, that's the actor I thought of.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a particular casting in mind for Deadshot. Although, honestly, I think would make a good Deadshot is Bryan Cranston. I am the one who knocks.
I don't know if he's like muscular enough for that or big enough. Stephen Lang, that's the actor's name.
Yeah, Stephen Lang. He is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen Lang could definitely do it. I think Bryan Cranston has the right personality for it. You need someone that's just can be a stone cold killer.
Yeah, and which Will Smith is not. And he's got funny lines and he's charming and everything, but it's not Deadshot. And as a comic book fan, I call bullshit. Now, I can understand if you're someone who's not a comic book fan and you watch it, go, oh, what are you guys talking about? Will Smith is so fun in this. Okay, but as a comic book fan, he's not right for the part at all.
Right. Yeah, so I think Deadshot, and I know a lot of critics have said that Will Smith was awesome because he's at his Will Smithiest. In that the last few films Will Smith has made, he has not been going around going, oh, hell no, and stuff like that. He's been trying to do more serious films and failing miserably for the most part. And so he is back to his Fresh Princey type of quips and stuff as far as his attitude in this, which, like you said, is entertaining enough, but it doesn't feel like Deadshot. And even my cursory knowledge of the character from comics, he was all wrong.
Yeah.
Deadshot is not supposed to be the comic relief.
Oh, no.
He's supposed to be the, you should have, Killer Croc is the physical strength muscle. Deadshot is the one that takes him out from a distance. And that's all he does. He is a killer. Anyway, let's move on now that we've, complained about Deadshot. Oh, look, there's one of the scenes where he has a mask on.
Yeah, one of the few times you'll see him with the mask on in the movie.
Yes.
It's like how many times do you see those posters for the Avengers or Captain America and Captain America doesn't have the damn mask on?
Right.
It's like, what the?
So let's talk about the Clown Prince of Crime, the Joker. I know you're gonna hate him, but I'm mixed. I'm really, really mixed. On the one hand, by the way, I wish we had seen him dressed like this in the film. That would have been awesome. But,
well, he is dressed like that when he's in the helicopter.
Oh, that's true. That's true. He is. I really liked Jared Leto's performance overall. I still do not like the tattoos, and I really think that the teeth is just a stupid.
Oh, it's stupid.
However, I think Jared Leto did a good job. My biggest problem with the Joker, and yes, this is geeking nerd, sweaty nerds time where I'm going to be talking about how it is in the comic books.
Now, let me tell you, in fact.
Yeah. My biggest problem with the Joker is definitely not Jared Leto's performance. I wasn't a fan of his, like I said, the tattoos and the grill. However, other than the tattoos and the grill, I liked his appearance for the most part. But the thing that really pissed me off is that the Joker's entire purpose in this film was to rescue Harley. The Joker is absolutely in love with Harley Quinn. I call bullshit on that because in the comic books, Joker is an abusive douche of a boyfriend at best to Harley Quinn. When Harley
he might be obsessive about her, but he's not really in love with her per se.
Right. He would never, he likes having her around and all that, but if something happened to her, screw her, I'm on to something else.
Oh, there's been plenty of times where he's totally screwed her over and left her to die and stuff like that. It's happened before.
And the ironic thing is, he does that in the beginning of this film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when during our Batman cameo, which by the way had a hilarious moment where Batman punches Harley in the face.
That was funny. Yeah.
But Joker literally leaves her to die and basically drown when he drives his car into the river as she's screaming that she can't swim. Yeah. And Joker's like, screw that, and he drives into the river anyway and swims away with her body trapped in the windshield. And basically, and that's Joker. That was absolutely Joker, except for the stupid tattoos and teeth. I like that Joker a lot. Then he comes back for some reason, and he's like, I gotta get my Harley. It's like, what? No. They nailed it in that cameo part, but then good.
Okay. I have a real hard time with Jared Leto in this. Until this part where he's wearing the tuxedo that you see here, they have him like in gold lame and feather boas and all that. I mean, it's not just the teeth and the tats. I mean, overall, I don't
know. I kind of like the purple coat.
I mean, I don't know. It just didn't feel like the Joker to me. And I had this discussion with our friend Patrick, and because he was asking, it's like, how's the Joker? And I said, well, I'll be honest with you. There was most of the movie. I look at the screen and I said, that's not the Joker. It's just not. I hated his laugh. It just didn't work for me. And the only time that I felt like I was really seeing the Joker was at the end when he was in the helicopter, not the end, but near the end, where he's in the helicopter and he's gunning everybody down.
That was very Joker. When he was doing the delighted in killing people.
Yeah, that I was like, okay, I buy that. That's the one point in the movie where I felt there's the Joker. But everything else with him, no. I just despised whenever he was on screen. There you go, when he's laughing and stuff. But when the whole thing with the
actually, let me see
the gold chains and the tats and I just don't.
Right there, I love that shot.
It's a well composed shot,
and that shot looks very Joker to me.
I don't know. I don't understand the need for the capped teeth.
No, the capped teeth I found horrible.
I don't know. He looks to me like some sort of like goth, like glam rock thing. I don't know. And I don't know. I do not care for him.
Right.
As I would go so far to say that he's the worst Joker that's ever been done. And I'm including, Hamill from the animated series, and honestly, I'll tell you, Cesar Romero's better than him. Because you can say whatever you want about the Batman TV show. At the time in the comics, that's pretty much the way it was.
Right.
And he reflected that. And
I will say we still have not gotten a true Joker on screen, and I would like to. Now let's talk about the probably the most controversial part of the film, Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Because now how we've talked about her several times in the from the trailers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, was I ready to hate this character. And the problem I have, and this is one of those things where they came so close to getting it right that it just made it infuriating. Overall, I actually liked her performance. I think that her obsession with Joker, I liked it. I liked her general attitude. And by the way, there is a single shot in the film that is just, to me, to me, it's like the director of the film going, "Screw you, fans," because they show her in her original Harley Quinn costume with the Joker in his purple suit side by side, and say how they were the king and queen of Gotham.
Right.
And it's like, that's a freaking movie right there.
Yeah, it's like, look what you could have had. Nope.
Yeah. Now,
sorry.
the problem that I had with her character, and it's, like I said, overall I liked the character, even most of the writing for her, her overall story. However, the problem was is that, like, for example, the picture you see right now, right? You see a shot of her like that, talking or doing whatever, and then they in every instance would cut to a full shot where she'd have to turn around and shake her ass at the camera.
Yeah, bend over. Or
and
whatever.
That was just getting so freaking old by the end of the movie, because I mean. That the upper, her upper body, that's Harley. I don't have a problem with that, even if it's not the Harlequin outfit that I prefer. But every time they show those ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous and impractical booty shorts that she's strutting around in for no purpose other than to apparently satisfy the fetish of the director to show this young woman's ass as much as possible in a PG-13 film. I don't get it. I mean, it was like, and the sad thing is there was like 4 or 5 women dressed just like that at the theater. And every one of them.
Really?
Oh, it was.
And where is this theater?
I mean, and I'm not kidding. There were women that were trying to dress like that. Of course,
yeah,
they didn't look nearly as good as she did, and it has nothing to do, by the way, with my wife. My wife was like, "Oh yeah, you would have liked it if it was so Nicki Minaj or something." I said, "No, it has nothing to do with her physical attractiveness. It has to do with the fact that the director is like." For some reason purposefully just framing every shot around her ass, and it takes away the depth and interesting things about her character in favor of, hey, look, another ass shot. Why do we need to see her ass that much in this film?
Okay. My opinion of this character. Here's the thing.
I like her ass.
Yeah, I'm 100% pro ass. I think the actress, I think Margot Robbie does a fine job. Although
the accent comes and goes.
Sometimes she's talking like that, Mr. J, and the rest of the time she talks like this.
Yeah.
And so it comes and goes, and that's annoying. And that's the director's fault, because he should have caught that and
right.
brought her back to the accent. Either do the accent or don't do it, but don't go back and forth, because that was annoying. I still, to this day, I realize that currently in the comics that's what she looks like. However, there are so many looks that she has had, including the original Harlequin costume that they do briefly show.
And like I said, that so pissed me off.
This feels like they wanted to basically appeal to a bunch of horny teens and, your typical comic book nerds who aren't getting laid or whatever. It's like this, like a fantasy thing. Oh, look how hot she is in her little outfit. Because nothing about the whole point is all her other outfits at least had something about them that looked like a Harlequin.
Right.
Hence the name. There's nothing. The only thing is like, okay, she's got pigtails and like blue. One's dyed blue and one's dyed red. That's it. There's nothing about that. All she looks like is some, biker slut character that you would see at like a roadside bar with a lot of pancake makeup on or something. Right. I think this is one of those things too where they're trying to force it into a PG-13 rating. I think kind of affected some of the dialogue with her as well, where they kind of had to tamper her down to where she was more cute than sexually threatening or whatever. And I don't know. I liked her, but she didn't need to be so fetishistic with the look. And like you were saying, does she have a nice butt? Yeah, she does. But do I need to see it in close up like a bunch of times? Probably not.
Well, and it just got it got ridiculous. I mean, I mean I like a female butt as much as the next guy. I really do. But
yeah,
that doesn't mean I want to see it shoved in my face constantly through a movie where I'm trying to take the characters seriously. Harley Quinn is an interesting character, and because she is a broken, formally strong professional woman. And in a sense, I mean, because and there's nothing wrong with that if you portray it in an interesting way. People talk about strong female characters. Amanda Waller is a strong female character.
Yeah.
And Amanda Waller, I think, was great in this film. The Harley Quinn, it seemed like in some parts they were trying to make her a stronger character, but in doing so, you ruin the character.
I think that if you had her in a Batman film,
oh yeah,
I think that she could be a lot of fun. I just have such an issue, and this is so stupid because I've been. We've both been, teenagers before and stuff like that. And so, yeah, a good looking woman in a skimpy outfit. Sure. That's exciting. But the over sexualization of her character in this movie is just ridiculous.
I assume you've seen this picture before.
Yeah. That's the one that they basically reproduce in the movie.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. Beautifully.
Oh yeah,
that one
great.
shot where they replicated this picture from the graphic novel, and that sums up Joker and Harley. She is swooning over him. He's not even looking at her.
Yeah. I think again, she has got an interesting origin, how she just falls under his spell and loses her mind because she just loses herself in him. And that's an interesting idea, as far as a story goes, but they go over it so fast that you don't really feel, you don't feel her falling for him. It's literally like,
it seems more like him falling for her because, his whole arc becomes gotta go rescue Harley. And it's like, no, that's not the Joker. The Joker would be, well, if she gets out, maybe I'll do her again.
It just seems like when you first see her is Harleen Quinzel, talking to him as a psychiatrist, it's just like she's already into him.
Yeah.
And you don't really see a flow or a progression from one end to the other where she's fairly normal and then all of a sudden she's psycho, with him and everything. And it just.
And in fact, that would actually, and what I think should have been the movie in between, well, there are several movies they should have made, but one thing I would have liked to have seen would be a Batman film where Batman was actually the secondary character and have the main focus of the story, the Joker and Harley Quinn, their story.
Yeah, that would be, I think, because you'd have the Joker already established, because everybody knows the Joker. You don't need to tell his origin again.
But Harley is such a wonderfully tragic story.
Yeah,
and that picture that picture that I put up could have been the last frame of the film, where and so Batman could have been as a background character trying to stop them, but ultimately it was about their love, or her love, I should say.
It really the Batman or the Joker Harley Quinn story is really a classic story of obsession and spousal abuse.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it is, because he treats her like garbage in the comics, and yet she continues to go back to him over and over again because she loves her pudding. And and I think it actually is. I know there's actually a lot of people who have criticized that because it's terrible. You're showing this horrible, make it like it's okay. And I disagree. I think it's actually a tragic story that they're telling with that.
And that's the point of it. Is because Batman's always trying to basically to save her from herself and her abusive boyfriend.
Yeah.
And he always fails because she doesn't want to hear it because, oh, you just got to know he's so wonderful. And it's like, that is such a true story and such a tragic story.
Yeah.
And, you know, it would be, you know, a very different kind of superhero film. And that could have been an incredible film. But unfortunately, this was the first film we got with her.
Yeah. And again, like we said, it's the big problem is you've come into a film, you bring a bunch of characters, and you had to cram backstory into little nuggets.
Right.
And then you're expected to care about everybody. And screenwriting 101, that's not the way it works. You can't just say, here, care about these characters, and then don't.
Right.
Well,
you
the Batman cameo. I think they're okay. You really don't see a lot of Batman at all. He's kind of just this presence. You just see the cape and him punching punching her in the face. And
well, you get more of a Batman cameo in the Deadshot flashback.
Right. That's the only one where he really has dialogue as Batman, I don't want to do this in front of your daughter.
Yeah. Which is good. That was a good Batman line.
Yeah.
I think this movie only reinforces that Ben Affleck was the choice for Batman.
Oh, I think he's great. He looks menacing.
Yeah. And even as Bruce Wayne, like I said I know it seems stupid to argue spoiler warning at this point, but at the end of the film during the credits sequence when we see Waller and Bruce Wayne together, I thought that was actually a really interesting scene.
Yeah.
Because here you have two people who are truly both very messed up individuals, but one trying to do it for the right reasons, one trying to do it for the wrong reasons.
The thing I found interesting though with that scene, and that's if you're watching the movie,
well, she's
wait
giving
through
him
the
information
credits.
He already has.
Yeah, wait through the credits because this scene comes after about midway through the credits.
Yeah.
I almost get the impression that she knows he's Batman from the dialogue in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he says like, me and my friends will have to come after you and your friends, it's like, what do you mean? What? Your friends? What?
Well,
you're just a millionaire,
remember,
right?
This is obviously not Amanda's first dealing with Batman because she tipped Batman off to catching Deadshot.
Right.
And so, yeah, this movie was so close. I mean, with a few tweaks, I think that if you changed Joker's physical appearance and not made him so obsessive about Harley, if you'd given Harley some frickin' even just shorts, I don't care, but not have her ass hanging out in every other shot in the film, I think that would have helped a lot. And by the way, the other thing that kind of pissed me off is you notice when she got her trunk of all of her stuff, she pulls it out. She pulls out the costume and the mallet, and then I'm going to grab this skimpy thing and a baseball bat.
Yeah, she pulls the thing. That's the thing. The big clown size mallet is a iconic weapon of hers.
Right.
And then she never uses it.
Right.
Just throws it away.
So yeah, just so many things where they got so close. They just got so frustratingly close. I still think though that we now have the third entry into the DCU. I do think this was a more for DC it was their lightest film, I guess.
I think it shows very strong evidence of studio tampering.
Mm-hmm.
There's some real jagged editing in this.
Yeah.
And I really get the feeling a lot of Will Smith's lines were done during reshoots.
I think I have the feeling that the original film probably had less Deadshot and less Harley.
Yeah, I think it was a lot more dead serious.
Right.
And there's things that are left story threads that are left hanging. I believe. Okay, you know who Ike Barinholtz is?
No.
well, he's a comedian. He used to be on Mad TV. He's on the Mindy Project right now. He plays the head of security at the Blackwater prison.
Okay. Oh yeah, the guy that Deadshot threatens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I would be willing to bet that his character is completely all reshoots. I don't think that he was a part of it
more
before.
Comedy to it.
Yes, because he is, every line with him is like whoa, 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 kind of a goofy line.
Could it get a what?
Yeah, and you. The thing is you get several times where Deadshot's like, "I will kill you. When I get there, I'm gonna fuck you up. I will kill you," and you keep waiting, thinking that that's gonna pay off, and it never does.
Right.
And at the end of the film, what happened to him? They don't resolve his storyline at all. Because you see him working like the Joker's like, "You're gonna do what I tell you to do." Oh, okay, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what? Huh? What happened to him?
And you could have done
they
something.
Don't resolve it.
You didn't have to kill him or anything like that. But what I think would have been kind of interesting would be like, for example, you have Deadshot after his visitation with his daughter. He's back in his prison cell. When you see him punching the bag and then hugging it because it's his daughter, right? The hug was stupid. I'm sorry, that was stupid.
It was dumb.
But I'd have him. You know what I would have done? Have him punch in the bag and have a picture of his daughter on the wall.
Maybe a picture of the guard on the bag.
Well, no, and then have the guard like walk by, all smarmy because you know what a dick he was.
Yeah,
and the guard be like, "Yeah, save the world, but you're right back in your box, right?" And then have Deadshot look at him or something. And go, you know what? There's gonna be another mission. And just enough to make him like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, and the thing is, when he goes back to the prison, that you don't see him anymore. At the end of the movie, it's like, what? Huh? It just feels like an example of too many cooks.
Mm-hmm. And further example that rushing it to the DCU is not good for the whole universe. I mean, because they're pushing everything.
Right, because like right now they're doing the Justice League movie.
Right.
Rush. And I guess they've already filmed. They've finished Wonder Woman.
Right, and which actually does look good.
Which looks good.
Yeah. Wonder Woman looks like it'll be the first genuinely able to compete with a Marvel film, DC film.
God, I hope so. And it's for the longest time there have been people complaining like, why hasn't Marvel done a female lead superhero movie, which we're getting now with Captain Marvel. But we've had Black Widow for like 6 movies or something we've seen her in, and
but really the only truly iconic female superhero is Wonder Woman. I mean, if you look at, there have been a lot of female superheroes, but when you think of great, classic, iconic heroes, the only female that generally comes to mind is Wonder Woman.
For the most part, yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. Right. But I think that it looks
and Black
great.
Lightning.
Black Lightning's black. He's just a guy. But I think that looks like it has real potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope, God, I hope it's good. And here's the thing, going off on a little bit of a tangent here. We were all told, as guys, that we were misogynist for hating Ghostbusters. Then why are we excited about Wonder Woman? But they never have an answer to that. It couldn't be that Ghostbusters was just a shitty movie that was poorly written and badly cast. It couldn't be that. But
well, and it's just like, some people would say, like, oh, you didn't like Harley, what, because you don't like women? And it's like, well, I said I like the character.
Yeah,
I didn't like the over sexualization of her. It was inappropriate for
you're slut shaming. It's like, oh my God, you can't.
You can't win with social justice warriors. But I really think that Harley is a more serious character than that. She deserves better than just to be an ass on screen. Her character is deep enough and tragic enough to carry a film on its own merit, and we saw that in parts of this film. And that's what was so tragic to me, is that there were times when I was like really feeling her character, and then she's like, oh, but I gotta show my butt, it's like,
I think, I really think it would be great to have a Batman movie with her and the Joker, and if they do that, please get rid of the stupid teeth.
Yeah, I don't get the teeth. The
You know,
teeth and the
that whole
tattoos
thing.
have got to go.
Maybe work with Leto to kind of alter it a little, the persona a little bit, and it could be okay. I just think that this is just another example of DC trying too hard and to catch up to Marvel and rush and cramming a bunch of characters and kind of throwing a little thumbnail, origin of each one. So you're supposed to care, but it's hard to care about characters where you have no real history with them.
Right.
And
that's the sad thing, and I know I said this a million times, but it's absolutely true. A Batman v Killer Croc movie could have been awesome.
Sure.
A Batman Harley Joker movie could have been awesome. A something to establish who the hell the Enchantress is.
Mm-hmm.
Something to show us who Slipknot was. I mean, what a tragic...
El Diablo.
Yeah. And El Diablo, oh man, you could, and especially since El Diablo's really only claim to fame in comics, the Suicide Squad, you could have put him in anybody's solo film. And had it be, a good story.
Yeah, I mean, the only one that's super lame is Captain Boomerang.
Right.
Well, Slipknot's kind of dumb, too.
And in fact, with El Diablo, you could almost make it a tragedy where if we take a DC character who's, say, a recognizable character, but not one that they want to really play up in the DCU, and have them like set up a solo film for them, and they end up getting killed by El Diablo, and that's part of his motivation for turning himself in.
Yeah, and I look at him. He reminds me a lot of Sandman, in that Sandman was a villain, and then he had a child, and he didn't want to disappoint her, and he had remorse, and they reformed Sandman, and that can work. You can make that work with a good script writer. It's just a shame because they're really, like you were saying, it's frustrating. There's certain things in this movie that are just so close to being great.
Yeah.
But they missed the mark with it, so it's just okay. And that's why, I don't know. I'm kind of wavering on whether the 4.5 or 5, because there's so much potential in this thing.
That's the thing. I enjoy. That's why I gave it a genuinely positive review, because there was so much that I liked about the film, and there was a lot of things. Everything. All of my big complaints, with the exception of the physical appearance of Joker, most of my complaints are about what I want to see more of. Not that I think it was horrible, but oh man, Killer Croc was interesting. Why couldn't we have more of him? Oh man, El Diablo was great. Why'd you have to kill him? I would also say, once again, our favorite actor, Jai Courtney, is Captain Boomerang. Well, I think that Jai is finally going to get his Academy Award nod for for this one.
Well, he has this Australian accent, and honestly, if I see this on DVD or something, or Blu-ray, whatever, I'm going to turn the subtitles on, because I couldn't understand half of what he said.
Yeah.
He overdid the accent so bad. He's like, "Oh, cool, right, mate. Cool, right?" What? The hell did he just say?
And it's like, could somebody explain to me why this 2-bit thief that gets busted by the Flash in 6 seconds, how does he manufacture a boomerang with a high-definition camera that can stabilize a shot and hover?
Well, I would also argue that you've got an alien invasion, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's Harley Quinn doing there? What's Captain Boomerang doing there? I mean,
that was what I was going to say when we got to Waller. I missed it. Is one of my biggest issues with this whole film is that the whole premise was built on Waller saying, and we saw it in the trailers over and over and over, about how, what would happen if the next Superman is bad?
Yeah, they're the worst of the worst.
Yeah, what are we going to fight? How are we going to fight that? Well, we need Task Force X, of course, with metas, right? Yep. Only problem is most of them aren't metas.
No, Captain Boomerang's not meta at all.
Right. Well,
Harley's not.
Captain Boomerang, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Slipknot, and Flag are all, and Katana, are all perfectly normal people. They're skilled or psychotic, but they're normal. Killer Croc is strong, but not Superman strong. El Diablo is really the only true meta.
Well, Enchantress.
Well, yeah, but she's kind of the villain.
Yeah.
But it's not a team of meta heroes or meta anti-heroes. It's a team of Batman rogues and a couple others.
Yeah, and they I had an issue. There was like that's all these scenes with all these mutants attacking, and all Harley's doing is hitting him in the head with a bat,
and it's working.
And it's like, okay, so then I could do that,
right?
And I'm a fat slob. I mean, there's no way I could. It's like if I can beat them, then that doesn't impress me.
Mm-hmm.
And
now I will say this: the one thing that Will Smith did well was when Deadshot held off that force of baddies. That was cool when he jumped up on the car and was taking him out. However, that was one moment. And the problem is it is completely trampled upon, because at first you get this feeling like, oh, these unkillable zombies, because they shoot them and they keep coming. But then Deadshot figures out, well, if you shoot them in the head, that'll take them down. But then we find out that if you hit them in the head with anything, it will kill them instantly.
Yeah.
Apparently if you spit on them and you hit them in the face, they will die. And
that was my big problem with it was like, they basically got them like to supposedly take on any type of metahuman or supernatural otherworldly menace, and Captain Boomerang and Harley don't belong there at all. I mean, neither does Slipknot. I mean, it's like, huh? I don't know. I mean,
Deadshot, at least with his skill set, could be useful.
Yeah.
He's a Batman level normal.
It's like, it reminds me of when people were complaining, well, how is Black Widow going to take on, Ultron or whatever? Well, to be fair, she is an assassin and she does have the Widow's Sting gauntlets.
And she's also
something that Harley doesn't have.
And she's one of the most well-trained badasses that the government has ever had.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, for a normal, she would be, on par with Flag. Flag earned, you have to, he's their team leader. Fine. I'm okay with that. But yeah, there's no reason to be recruiting why don't you just throw Hannibal Lecter out there? You can start gnawing on him,
Yeah, I find it funny because, like, if these characters exist, there's other meta-human villains that they could have picked instead of Captain Boomerang.
Well,
because when she says she's the worst of the worst, Captain Boomerang? Really?
How about Captain Cold and Heatwave?
Sure.
That would make more sense.
They're more threatening than him.
Yeah. Right, I got me Boomerang.
And my pink unicorn stuffed doll.
Yeah, which for some reason he keeps hiding from everybody. And the funny thing is, you know what? This is so wrong, but I really wonder, because just the deviousness of Marvel, if Marvel got wind of what they were doing with Captain Boomerang, and that's why they threw that sequence into Deadpool with the unicorn.
That would be funny.
I mean, it's like, because that was just so much of a coincidence that both, had this thing with this stuffed unicorn.
Well, I just find it so interesting that with the success of Deadpool, not just the R rating, but the humor and everything, that DC scrambled and felt they had to lighten the movie up, especially after Batman versus Superman. And I think that they screwed themselves because they did half measures.
Right. I think it would be interesting to see what this film was originally intended to be.
Yeah, if this had been rated R, it would have been, my rating probably would have been higher, because they would have been able to do more of what you expect. Villains don't have scruples. Villains do bad things. That and in this one, they seem like, oh, these aren't that bad of guys.
Right. Oh, sure. She took the purse out of the store display window, but
that wasn't that adorable when she did that.
But yeah, there was no. I mean, Harley, you just got the feeling she was crazy, which she is.
Right.
But yeah, the rest of the guys, I mean, basically, Killer Croc, oh, he's misunderstood. People treat him like a monster. El Diablo, oh, he's got a tragic past and people are afraid of him. Okay, well, how about Deadshot? Oh, he's an honorable guy who just wants to do right by his daughter. Okay, well, where are the villains?
Yeah.
Where's this team of evil people that we are forcing to do good things?
Yeah, like if you want to get like bring in like Scarecrow or something.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine? That would be a great, like him throwing his fright bombs with the fright gas.
Oh yeah.
Of course, that wouldn't
nightmares
and
the
shit.
Zombies they were fighting, but
But I mean, yeah, I have issues with the characters they chose, and then they just kind of short shrifted them all.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Well, except for Deadshot and Harley, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Those were, they focused on him because it's Will Smith, and they focused on her because she's hot.
And in all honesty, as far as compellingness of, I mean, granted, my problem with Killer Croc and stuff is that we didn't really get to know him at all, other than he seemed like he had a sense of humor about him.
Yeah.
Which I would have, Killer Croc would have been a great comic relief for this film if he had one-liners throughout the film, and get rid of the Will Smith isms from Deadshot, and then we focus more on. I was okay with Harley's story, and then let's get more screen time to El Diablo. And his story, and so we tone down Will Smith, we bump up Killer Croc, and maybe a little bit more El Diablo, and then fix the Joker, and I think you would have had a much better film. But as it stands, I still think it was an entertaining film, and so. What's your final score going to be, Tim? Is it going to be that 4.5, or are you going to bump it up to 5?
I'll give it a 5.
Okay.
Because. In the final analysis, like I said, the stuff they do right, they do well, but it's just another example of trying to play catch up with Marvel by cramming too many characters in and not giving them enough to care about them. And really, and honestly, the story's not that great either. Right. It's not very strong.
And I gave it a 6.5 initially, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually stick with that. I think that's still fair assessment, good but not great. And of course, if we figure in Uncle Drewey's 3.5, that gives it a untitled average of 5 out of 10, a average film. Which, to be this film is not a great film. This film is not going to be remembered like Iron Man or the first Avengers film or the Christopher Nolan Batman films. This is not going to be remembered as a great film. It may be remembered as the DCU starting to improve.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, like Wonder Woman looks like a definite step in the right direction. Right.
And Wonder Woman, I'm hoping, will be the film that we start to say they finally got their Iron Man.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm truly hoping for Wonder Woman. Even though I'm a Marvel guy at heart, I'm still rooting for DC because I like the idea of having 2 comic book universes to enjoy.
Sure.
And I also like the fact that the DCU is a little darker, a little grittier. I think they took it a little too far in Man of Steel. I think Batman vs. Superman wasn't as bad, although I still think Superman should have been lighter. And Suicide Squad, right tone for a Gotham-esque film. But if the DCU is darker and grittier, the Marvel universe is light and fun, that's good because that gives us 2 different things to enjoy, as long as they both do it well. The problem is that DC is really not quite hitting on all cylinders, and I don't know why they're not putting all the talent and power they can into it like Marvel did, but until they do, they're gonna be mediocre.
So what does Jimmy think of it?
Oh, Jimmy actually told me just before the show that he thought that the look of the Joker was awesome. He also thought he wanted more Will Smith in the film, but that's just Jimmy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So that's going to be it for this special edition of the Untitled Show about nerdy stuff. Thank you for those of you that watch live and those of you that watch in the future. I appreciate it very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show. And don't forget to check out the old bitter bastard sitting next to me. No, I'm not making fun of him. That's the name of his show on SoundCloud, The Bitter Bastard. Check it out. And check us out at fatoverlords.com. Until next week, we will not have a ending because we don't really have titles or ending. Maybe we should call it the show with no ending or something. I don't